political
If President
benefactors.
Obama sued his own department, his own IRS, and settled with himself, I guarantee you that you and every conservative on Fox would be running around screaming for impeachment. You guys would be trying to throw him an alligator out.
What is up, everybody? Andrew here, and welcome to the very first video on the Veil of Power. I picked one hell of a topic to kick things off with. Trump just created a $1.8 billion taxpayer fund with zero rules, zero oversight, and zero list of who gets paid, buried inside a settlement that permanently blocks the IRS from ever touching his family's taxes again. On this CNN panel, Isaiah Martin asked the one question every Trump defender in that room could not answer. If Obama had done this exact thing, what would you be saying right now? Watch Emily Austin try to dodge it in real time. If you are new here, hit subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of accountability journalism you are going to get every single time. And now let's get into it.
Everyone, I'm Jessica Dean in for Abby Phillip today, and we're still 3 months from the dog days of summer, but for Donald Trump's political standing, it's hot as hell already. For the past 3 months, the president launched a war that's still going without an obvious end at this moment, sending gas prices through the roof. No state has had less than $4 a gallon 48 hours ago. Inflation is rising. Mortgage rates rose to the highest they've been in 9 months. Bond yields are the highest since before the financial crisis, and his poll numbers keep crashing. But all the president can seem to talk about over and over are the things like his arch, the reflecting pool, his marble walkway, and the ballroom, which he gave a tour of this week.
This is a gift to the United States of America, and more than a gift, it's going to be one of the most beautiful buildings that's ever been built in the country or in Washington, D.C. This is not for me. This is my gift to the United States of America.
When it comes to those gas prices mentioned, he doesn't think much of them.
This is peanuts, and I appreciate everybody putting up with it for a little while. It won't be much longer.
And this week introduced a new twist to the outrage. Trump defended a $1.8 billion slush fund with taxpayer money to compensate his allies that he claims were wrong. And that includes January 6th rioters. And if that's not enough, part of that deal forbids the IRS from forever investigating him or his family's taxes. Even conservative columnist Jonah Goldberg raised the idea of impeachment, saying by their definition, the founding fathers would have gotten rid of Trump long ago. I want to welcome everyone to the table. Thanks so much for being here, guys. It's interesting. We heard from Trump on Truth Social, where he was kind of congratulating himself. He said that he gave up a lot of money in allowing the just announced anti-weaponization fund to go forward. I could have settled my case, including the illegal release of my tax returns and the equally illegal break-in of Mar-a-Lago, for an absolute fortune. Instead, I am helping others who were so badly abused by an evil, corrupt, and weaponized Biden administration receive, at long last, justice. Alyssa, I'll start first with you. The president not backing down from this, and it seems like he's living in this reality right now, whereas there's the other reality for millions of Americans who are looking at this weekend with really high gas prices, really high grocery prices. The list can go on.
Well, and let's just look back to what started this. The president's tax returns were leaked. That shouldn't have happened. That was wrong. That was unethical. The gentleman who did that is serving 5 years in jail. It's not like there weren't consequences for those actions. But now this is money that was congressionally appropriated to the Internal Revenue Service that is going to be used for this, what I would say amounts to a slush fund, to go out to people who feel like they were victims of political weaponization. And that could include people who may have assaulted police officers, destroyed property at the Capitol. And I'd also remind you, those people, most of them already received blanket pardons from the president or commutations of their sentences. So many of these also went on to commit other crimes down the road. So this just comes at a moment when there are so many glaring signs of things the president should be focusing on, that the American people want him to focus on, and it feels deeply out of touch. I am still incredibly bullish that this is never actually going to come to fruition. The fund itself, between Congress, this is just blatantly illegal. This has to go through a congressional appropriation, and if Congress doesn't find a way to block it, then I do think the courts will step in. We've seen him do it with Doge, with other times that funds were appropriated for something different and then redirected. So we'll see if it ever comes to to life.
I mean, I would push back on that a little bit. What you call the slush fund, I find to call the anti-weaponization fund. And I'm sure on both sides of the aisle, we all have friends whose lives have been absolutely ruined, whether they were innocent. And you said that this is going to people who assaulted police officers on January 6th. It could, but the truth is we don't know where this money's going yet. And I feel like we're always prematurely just very negative when it comes to anything that President Trump wants to do. But I view this as something very altruistic. Trump did not take the money and put it in his pocket like he could have, and like most people probably would have done. And instead, he wants to help those people who were absolutely destroyed by the weaponization of the government. I have friends who declared bankruptcy over proving they're innocent, that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, some millions, to avoid spending time in jail, and they don't get that money back. Why can't we help those people?
Well, therein lies the root of the problem. You just said the very simple fact that we're not going to know exactly who gets this money. I know that there was this testimony inside of the United States Congress in which they said that there's really no rules behind what's going to happen. So I think that it's absolutely absurd that there's going to be a fund that's $1.8 billion. We don't know where the money's going to go through.
Yes.
And honestly, we don't know if we'll ever know who the money's going to go to. You don't think that that's absurd, that
like
the President of the United States can create a fund and divvy payments to people and we don't know who the money goes to?
I mean, we know that it's going to people who have been weaponized by the government. Now, whether that goes to, like you said, January 6th protesters or people like James Comey, who I find is guilty, we don't know yet. So why don't we wait and see before we are outrageous?
Going to give James Comey a payout for wrongful prosecution as they're trying to prosecute him. That doesn't seem like
but
it.
that
doesn't
is
mean
the
he's
root of
innocent,
that's
but he
the
can
root of the
apply.
issue.
Yeah,
Anyone
the
can
root of the
apply.
issue is that we will never know.
People in this country who have been
knows
wronged by the law have already
Well, that's what they said.
have legal pathways to seek justice for that. And you know, what you said, Trump could have just taken the money. No, he can't just take the money because we live in a yes. Because I mean, for a lot.
I want to ask this question because Emily, you were saying Trump didn't benefit. What about this piece? This other piece
settlement
of this,
with himself
about the well
that he negotiated with himself.
Settle that.
He is the government.
But I want to ask about the IRS not being able
off.
to prosecute him or his family over taxes forever. What do you think about that?
Obviously, optically, it looks horrendous. I think anybody can.
Because it is horrendous.
Anyone can admit that. But there's also an unprecedented amount of persecution when it comes to the Trump and the Trump family. There has never been a president that has been persecuted as much as Donald Trump, whether it's illegally releasing his IRS, which I'm happy he's sitting 5 years in jail because that would never be tolerated under anyone else. But it's just the target on President Trump personally, it's outrageous.
Jeff Bezos also had his tax returns illegally released.
And that's
so should
also
he be entitled to $2 billion? Where does this stop?
If he wants
are we
to
going to be
sue,
saying,
he absolutely has the
so
right
are we going to
to.
say that for every single person that they should all be
They have
entitled
the right
to
to
$2 billion?
sue, but I
also
also
think
but none of them or
whatever
the
they
President of the
settle on.
United States can negotiate with
But
themselves.
them and the President, to me, have equal treatment. If Bezos wants
Equal
to sue,
treatment?
if
It's the
Bezos
President
wants to
of the
sue and
United
President
States
wants
that's
to sue, they
negotiating
have
his
been
own
wronged.
settlement.
Well, and let's
Clearly,
keep
there's
in
a
mind,
case
guys,
go ahead, getting the money.
there is in this moment in the country, people are struggling. There is real financial and economic hardship right now. People's healthcare costs are going up, inflation, gas prices are between $5 and $6 a gallon. Is this the best use of government resources? I don't know any conservative who could argue that this is how we should be using this money.
I mean, I
here's
argue it goes back to
and here's the
people.
context. This is a pattern of the President of the United States pilfering from the national coffers to serve his own political and personal ends. We have the Board of Peace, billions of dollars of taxpayer money without any congressional authorization or oversight. You know, you've got all of the stock trades that he's made, $750 million worth of stock trades on issues that he's adjudicating. This is a level of self-dealing and corruption that no one has seen before, and you have to view this slush fund in that context because
If there was
it's
ever-
obvious that he's doing it for political reasons and that the lawsuit against the IRS was a sham lawsuit that was never moving forward anyway.
I'm just going to
It
say
was just
this.
a thinly veiled excuse to pay off his own political
If President
benefactors.
Obama sued his own department, his own IRS, and settled with himself, I guarantee you that you and every conservative on Fox would be running around screaming for impeachment. You guys would be trying to throw him in alligator Alcatraz.
Actually, one thing I will
That's
pat
what you would
myself
want.
on the back for is I know bipartisanly when something is wrong or not. I'm not the person that's like, oh, every Democrat's wrong and every Republican's right. That's something that you cannot
And a president
generalize.
negotiating
If that
with
happened
himself?
to Obama, by the way, anyone who's wronged, the law is the same, whether you're the president or not.
But
if
he's the
somebody
one that's
did leak
negotiating the
Obama's
settlement.
tax
Why can't
returns,
we-
he
He's
should
negotiating
sue.
with himself.
we
No one
could
else has that ability. You cannot compare him to other billionaires, to other people, to other people on earth, because he's the one that dictates the terms of his own settlement.
If we could just get a commitment from the administration that not a single dollar would go to somebody who assaulted a police officer,
I agree
we could begin a conversation. Maybe I still wouldn't support it, but some Republicans in the Senate might. But we couldn't even get that from the Deputy Attorney General, a commitment that leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers might not get million-dollar settlements to then fund domestic terrorism.
And then, Alyssa, we also won't get the names of the people at all.
Correct.
So we'll never be able to verify anything.
There's not a lot of transparency.
There's a lot of questions around this, and we're going to talk about as we come back.
Let's talk about the double standard in this story, because it is not subtle anymore. Trump created a $1.8 billion taxpayer-funded pot of money with no published rules, no recipient list, and no oversight. That is not my characterization. That is what Congress was told directly when they asked where the money goes. Nobody knows. Buried in that same deal is a provision permanently blocking the IRS from ever investigating Trump or his family's taxes again. Not paused forever. A sitting president negotiated immunity for his own family's tax records using a lawsuit legal analysts already said was going nowhere. What was the defense from the panel? Emily Austin's best argument was that Trump deserves credit for not pocketing the money himself. Think about how low that bar is. The standard is no longer, did he abuse power? It's at least he didn't put it in his own wallet. That is not accountability. That is surrender dressed up as analysis. Isaiah Martin didn't even have to raise his voice to expose it. One question. If Obama had sued his own IRS and settled with himself, what would you be saying right now? Silence. Everybody in that room already knew the answer, and that answer destroys the entire defense. This is the same political movement that turned a tan suit into a national controversy and called every minor Democratic misstep a constitutional emergency. Now the same voices want patience for a president who blocked his own tax investigation and handed out nearly $2 billion with zero paperwork. Either the standard applies to everyone or it applies to nobody. Pretending otherwise is exactly the kind of dishonesty that makes people stop trusting the ones defending it. This fund does not exist in a vacuum. This is the same administration running a so-called Board of Peace with billions in taxpayer money and zero congressional authorization. The same president who made roughly $750 million in stock trades on issues he is directly adjudicating. This is not one bad headline. It's a pattern of self-dealing at a scale this country has never seen from a sitting president. And every time it happens, the same clowns show up to explain why this time is different. Let's be honest about who this money could actually go to. Testimony in Congress confirmed there are no rules preventing it from reaching people who assaulted police officers on January 6th. The Deputy Attorney General could not even commit to keeping leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers out of it. Read that again. A taxpayer-funded account that cannot rule out paying convicted rioters with zero transparency about who eventually cashes those checks. People are watching this happen while gas prices sit between $5 and $6 a gallon, mortgage rates hit 9-month highs, and grocery bills keep climbing on real families. Meanwhile, the president tours a new ballroom and calls a war-driven economic squeeze peanuts. That word choice alone should embarrass every person defending him. Peanuts. Tell that to a family choosing between groceries and gas this week. This is what unaccountable power looks like when nobody is willing to call it what it is. Not a fund, not a settlement, a slush fund built to reward political loyalty, insulated from the very oversight designed to stop exactly this kind of abuse. And the only reason it is not dominating headlines the way Obama's tan suit did is because the people who claim to care about accountability only seem to care when it is convenient for them. Isaiah Martin asked the only question that matters, and nobody at that table could answer it honestly. So that silence told you everything. Share this video, drop your take in the comments, and if you are not already locked in with the Veil of Power, hit subscribe right now, because this channel is not going anywhere, and neither is the accountability. Andrew, out. Let's go.